Everybody, it's Brady from Elite Weather Forecast, and today I'm going to be doing a video on 97L and also 98L and briefly cover Genevieve, which is very destructive. So let's get to Genevieve first, and as we can see, tropical storm force wind field and major hurricane wind field as well, or hurricane wind field I should say, is going to make a close approach to the Baja. So can we expect for the Baja? Well, you can see the tropical storm warnings in blue. Expect tropical storm force winds conditions, squally bands moving in from the eastern side of Genevieve and going to make a very significant impact for the Baja. Strong wind, rip currents and rough seas should be expected for those places. So alert your friends in the Baja of potential for tropical storm force winds, and potentially we could be looking at wind gusts 50, 60, 70 miles per hour depending on how close it gets. That will be very crucial. Genevieve continues to sit strong at 125 miles per hour and has been a Cat 4 for most of the day and will likely continue to stay around that strength, around a very strong Cat 3 or Cat 4 as it makes its approach to the Baja, and as it moves farther north and west, it will likely decrease in strength. So now let's move to 97 and 90AL. Push back here. If you don't have this app, I highly recommend getting it. Hurricane Tracker app, it is fantastic. I would highly recommend getting it. So 97L, let's look at 97L first, and we can see it is extremely disorganized, but we can see some new banding features appear to be forming on satellite, and it doesn't look too good either. We'll go deeper into satellite in a few minutes, but we can see 97L here. 80% of development over the next 5 days, and 40% development over the next couple of days. So over the next 2 days, we're not likely to see any development. As it approaches Jamaica, though, we could be looking at some development there, though. So that's why our friends in Jamaica should definitely be looking very closely to see if this does form. So if there's a 50, 60 mile per hour tropical storm that makes a close approach, you definitely want to know about it. So I'd be monitoring 97L right now if I am in the Yucatan Peninsula, if I'm in Cuba or Jamaica right now. I definitely want to be monitoring it, as it could have potential impacts as well for the Gulf in the long term, which I'm going to talk about. If it gets into the Gulf, there's really no telling what could happen. But those 30 to 31 degrees Celsius water temperatures, even close to 32, which is steaming, almost nearing 90 Fahrenheit, 90 degrees in Fahrenheit. That is just incredibly warm. Not quite, but nearing. It's just incredibly warm. So if it gets into the Gulf, especially along with that deep ocean content in the Western Caribbean, it could be very impactful. And here's the infrared satellite image of 97L. You can see it looks terrible. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, it looks terrible, but don't let that fool you. There's some new banding features that appear to be showing up. In south, it looks lots of good convection happening in South America right now. That could potentially be something for the East Pacific in about 5 days or so. But for now, let's stick to 97L, obviously. But it does not look good. But don't let that fool you. Just because it doesn't look good now, tomorrow morning it could look a lot better for whatever we know. But in 2-3 days, we could start looking for it to look a lot better, much more organized, and potentially have some impacts for Jamaica, the Yucatan, and potentially western parts of Cuba as well. Depending on the track, it's still uncertain. You see a lot of model runs, but just know, take those with a major grain of salt. Once we get past 4 or 5 days, it's very hard to tell what exactly is going to happen with those model runs. 7 days, why? Why would you do that? It's just for fun. Okay, I get it. I posted model runs before too on Twitter. They're just for fun, really. They're just fun to look at. You can think of the same model run happen in your head, so it doesn't really mean anything. Just gives an idea of one possible scenario. So that's always something you should keep in mind. But here, is not any persistent convection with 97L, so it does not look that great. But just know in the future, it does not look great at the moment, but in the future there definitely could be some significant impact. So this is something we want to monitor if you live in the Gulf of Mexico, the Yucatan Peninsula, Jamaica, and Western Cuba for sure. We definitely want to monitor this and to make sure it does not catch us off guard, and that's not something we want. We don't want something like a Harvey to catch us off guard. That would not be good, or a Michael. Two storms that very much caught us off guard. So know this is there and monitor this. Just because if it gets into the Gulf and it's still looking like this, it could rapidly intensify and become a hurricane. So that's why we got to watch this continuously, see what the model runs are saying, take it with a grain of salt, but listen to the National Hurricane Center and see what they're saying as well. So now I'm going to shift back here to 98L. Take a look here, 90% development over the next 2 days, 90% as well over the next 5 days. This looks like it's going to develop over the next 36 hours, I think. The western side has seemed to dominate today, as you can see. On satellite, it does look disorganized. It does not look tropical at all, but we can see that spin there on the western side. There's a clear spin there, very clear spin. Not be surprised if this becomes a tropical depression by tomorrow. Very much not be surprised. Let's see some of the model runs here. They stick with a pretty much northwest and then due west approach here. So there's a lot of scenarios that can happen. This could head into the Gulf. This could head up to East Coast and back Florida, anywhere on the East Coast. Puerto Rico, the Dominican, who knows? We don't know at this point. What we do know is that it's likely to form over the next 36 hours. We can say that with confidence that it's likely to form as a tropical storm and probably a depression within the next 24 hours. If I had to guess based on these recent satellite over the past few hours. And that is something I'm going to show you now. See here, 98L. Again, if you've not heard of this website, Weather Nerds, it is one of the great websites. Great for satellite and something I highly recommend you go check out. Shout out to Weather Nerds, all the great stuff that you guys do for all of us Mets. Well, no, I'm not a Met, but weather fanatics, I guess. And we can see here, it looks a lot better than 97L, and we can see that definite circulation happening right by somewhere some brand new popping convection looks very strong. We can see that large load of convection way on the west side. But look at brand new, very small area just east of that too. We can see a little bit of a spin happening there, and it looks very much in that area is where we're going to be looking for our development to happen, as the east side, where the convection was earlier today, is going to merge with the west side. And right now, winds, I believe, are around 30 miles per hour sustained right now. Is it still an invest, but it very well could be a tropical depression. There's many features on this satellite that are looking like it could become a depression within the next 24 hours. And from the naked eye, without looking up closely, you'd say, well, this just does not look very organized at all. There's like 3, and even off this image, there's like 4 separate areas of convection. Well, yeah, but they're supposed to separate or merge. Some areas get off-put from where the most persistent convection is, so there's likely going to be some merging to happen, and not be surprised again if this becomes a tropical depression within the next 24 hours. Again, listen to the National Hurricane Center, as, again, I'm not an official, even though I've said again like 3 times. Sorry about that. The National Hurricane Center is where you want to consult your information from, but also kind of see it for yourself. I think you can do some of the work for yourself and tell if anything significant is going to happen for your area. So 98L is long term. This is 7 to 10 days out. So if you're following model runs for this now, I would just stop. Okay, so take this with a grain of salt. But just know there's going to be impacts from these 2 storms in the future. All right, that's it for me. Stay safe and peace out.